Hello and welcome to The Discriminating Gamer, the board game review show that proudly salutes Queen Elizabeth II for sitting on the throne longer than any monarch in British history. Say, speaking of thrones, do you like that Game of Thrones? Just the TV series or the books too? Because if it's just the TV series, I don't want to talk to you. Oh, alright, I'll talk to you. Well, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at a Game of Thrones, the card game, 2nd edition from Fantasy Flight Games. A Game of Thrones, the card game, 2nd edition from Fantasy Flight Games, is the brand new updating, retooling of their card game based on the George R.R. Martin intellectual property. Now, I have to tell you right now, I never played the 1st edition of Game of Thrones, the card game, so I can't really speak to that. I can't tell you what they've changed or updated. I do know there was some significant retooling that I had heard about, but I don't know exactly where that was or how it worked out, so I cannot comment on that. I can just simply give you my impressions of this game out of the box as it stands. In a nutshell, this is how you play the game. There are a number of factions, each with their own unique cards in their decks. Of course, you've got the Greyjoys, the Lannisters, the Tyrells, the Starks, all these kooky people that are engaged in this battle for control over the continent of Westeros. Now, what you're going to do is, with those decks, you can actually kind of mix in some other cards from more kind of generic decks that give you some fun locations and items and other fun and kooky and important things you're going to use. Now, in addition to your deck that you're going to be playing from, you also have a plot deck. And there are a few cards in the plot deck that have some kind of very important information and very important kind of rules that are going to kind of affect the strategy and the tone of each round that you play. The very first thing you do is select a plot card, and then you're going to reveal that plot card simultaneously. Now, the plot card is going to have some very important information on it. First of all, it's going to have a number of coins. That's essentially the gold you're going to receive in order to marshal armies later in the turn. You're going to have an initiative rating, and essentially whoever has the higher number in initiative, they're the first player for that round. Finally, the last number is your claim number, and your claim number is essentially going to affect how you're going to commit some of the challenges a little bit later in the round. You're also going to have a reserve number, and at the end of your turn, that's how big your hand size can be. Now, in a nutshell, you have cards, and at the very beginning of the game, on your first turn, you can actually set out a few cards according to some setup rules. But how it works is cards that are kind of, straight in front of you, they are standing, and then you can tap them. If we can use that term, tap them, they are kneeling. So standing and kneeling. So essentially it's an active card and an inactive card. After the plot phase, you're going to go ahead and draw 2 more cards and put them into your hand. Then you have the marshalling phase. Essentially, you're going to collect coins for the gold that you got from the plot card, and you may have some cards out there that also give you additional coins. So you could add up all your coins from those factors, and then you can essentially buy cards out of your hand to lay them down in front of you. Now, the cards that you lay down are either going to be characters, they are going to be locations, they are going to be attachments that you can then attach to characters, and you may have event cards that you can play kind of in different times to kind of interrupt the action. Once both sides have had a chance to marshal their armies, you're going to go to the challenge phase. And there are essentially 3 different kinds of challenges. There's military challenges, intrigue challenges, and power challenges. What you have to do is find characters that have that unique challenge symbol on their card. Then you can pick any number of characters to make that attack. Then what's going to happen is the defender can choose to defend with cards that have a similar icon on their card. What you do is you total up the total strength of all the cards attacking and all the cards defending. Whoever has the greater number wins that challenge, and of course the ties go to the attacker. If you're a defender and you lost the military challenge, you must lose a number of characters equal to your opponent's claim number. If you have lost an intrigue challenge, you must lose a number of cards from your hand randomly equal to the number of that claim number. Finally, if you lose the power challenge, the defender must lose a number of power equal to the claim number on his opponent's plot card. And power is important because the first player to 15 power wins the game, so you want to make sure you can try to beat those things. Now, if you choose not to oppose an enemy, you are going to just automatically hand 1 power to your enemy, to say nothing of any effects that may happen. But you may want to, because that way you're not going to tap your cards. You're not going to kneel your cards, they remain active. Next, you figure out dominance. Now, what you do for dominance is you total up the total number of strength that your standing characters have, and then you add that to 1 for every gold piece you have. Whoever has the greater number wins a power token. Next, you stand all of your cards. So all your cards that were kneeling, they return to standing. And then finally, you have taxation. And the first thing you got to do is return all of your gold back to the treasury. And then second of all, you have to make sure that your cards, your hand size, does not exceed what is the reserve on your plot card. If it does, you have to discard cards down to the number of cards you can have. Players are going to go back and forth with these steps until either one player has 15 power accrued on his faction card, in which case he wins the game, or one player cannot draw any more cards from their draw deck, in which case it's instant death and they lose the game. So that is essentially a Game of Thrones, the card game, 2nd edition. So what do I think of this game? Well, first of all, let me just tell you, I'm a big fan of Game of Thrones. I really enjoy Fantasy Flight Games' Game of Thrones, the board game, 2nd edition. That is one of my favorite games. That is one of my top 10 favorite games. I love that game. I recently played Game of Thrones Risk from USAopoly. I enjoyed that too. I love this IP. I think this is a tremendous IP. And even further with Fantasy Flight, I love the artwork that they put into this game, both the board game and the card game, and it's just very, very fun and interesting and inspiring artwork. And I know they put out a version of this with the HBO pictures and stuff, and I'm sure that was great. But man, I love this artwork. It's just so beautiful and compelling and thematic, and I really, really enjoy it. The game itself is a living card game. Now, I got to tell you, there's only one real living card game like this that I've played, kind of collectible card game that I've played with any real love, and that is Android Netrunner. I really enjoy Android Netrunner, but I don't play it in tournaments. I don't play it seriously. I play it casually with friends. It's just a fun game that I really enjoy playing with friends. Unfortunately, it's so complicated, there's few friends I can play it with because it takes so long to teach, so I don't play it as often as I'd like, but I really like Android Netrunner. Never played Magic, and some of these other games I may have played once or twice, but it just never really captured my imagination. Now, this game here has some very interesting ideas and concepts behind it. It has some really where the excitement and the coolness, the adventure of this game comes from, is all the different abilities the cards have that you have, that, so you can spring traps on your enemies or try to maneuver them into the corner, and then, of course, watching out for what your enemy can do to you. That's where the fun of this game comes from. And it is fun. I enjoyed the game. But I got to tell you, I didn't love this game. Not because I think it's a bad game. I don't. I actually think it is a good game. I think it's a very good game in a lot of ways. It's just not my cup of tea. There's a reason why I don't play a lot of those other kind of collectible card games, and that's just because, for whatever reason, they don't really capture my imagination. I'd rather play a simple out-of-the-box deck builder, like Legendary, the DC Comics deck-building games. I really enjoy those. But these where you build the decks, and of course, where new decks are coming out constantly, and you buy into it, it becomes a system, and I'm not really super excited about it. Now, you can play a Game of Thrones, the card game 2nd edition, with up to 4 players, 3 or 4 players. Now, I have only played the 2-player game. It's possible I may like the 4-player better. If I play it, and I do, I'll probably make a video about that and let you know if I do that sometime down the line. But right now, I'm just kind of looking at the 2-player game. But I know a lot of people that get a lot of enjoyment out of these kinds of games, and this one, as I'm playing it, I think it's just about as good as anyone out there. I mean, I can't compare to a lot of them, but I think it's a good, solid game. I think I like Android Netrunner better, but I like this one. I thought it was fun, just not one that I'm super excited about because of my own personal inclinations. So the recommendation for Game of Thrones, the card game, 2nd edition, is try it before you buy it. If you like kind of these living card games, these collectible card games, I think you'll really get a kick out of it. If you're like me, maybe you don't need it. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we ask you to please leave a comment for us on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, or on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We ask you to please like us on Facebook and subscribe to us on YouTube. We are The Discriminating Gamer, and I wasn't going to say anything, but I'm the guy George R.R. Martin calls when he needs plot advice.
somebody help me on my feet again. And I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know where I've been. Please somebody help me on the solid ground. It's a long time, and I'll be dying. Once a year I wind up in the band. God knows that I love life.
If I had my way, Tyrion would have been a long time ago.
But why? He's such a kindly fellow. Hang on, it's Eric.
What a douche.